Small accomplishments for bigger things. 52 followers. Let's go. Let's pick it up, guys. We need to hit that roll. We gotta get there. 52 followers on Twitch, man. Follow, man. Follow Saucy Reactions on Twitch. We live stream, baby. Live streaming this. Catching it on the YouTube side. That's fine with me too. Just hit that subscribe button, you know, man. Look out for your boy. Dealer fucking up out here. Alright, let's hear this shit.
These freak-offs became violent, and federal prosecutors say they have proof of that. It's this video from a hotel hallway in Los Angeles in March of 2016. It shows Combs chasing Cassie Ventura out of a hotel suite. We've edited parts of it. Ventura says Combs hit and kicked her and dragged her back to the room when she tried to leave a freak-off. Ventura described it this way on the stand. When I chose to leave, I grabbed
Freak off term is coin. Let's go. Freak off.
kicked
Freak it
me,
off.
tried to drag me back to the room. He took my stuff. Yeah. Ventura told Combs in a text that she wanted to take part in the freak off because she had a movie premiere, but she also didn't want to mess up her body. But she testified she told him she wanted to do the freak off so she wouldn't sabotage her movie premiere, which was coming up. She then described in more detail what happened. Ventura said Combs hit her, so she decided to leave. An escort named Jules was still in the hotel suite at the time. Ventura said, after he hit me, and I just saw the result of it, I knew I had to get out. So when he was distracted, I don't know exactly what he was doing. He was either in the shower or on the phone. I just grabbed my stuff and ran out as fast as I could. Assistant U.S. Attorney Emily Johnson then asked, and where were you headed when you ran out of the room? Ventura responded, I was headed home to my apartment. Johnson asked, what happened next? Ventura responded, I made it to the elevators. I got my sneakers on. And then the next thing I knew, I was just thrown to the ground. Ventura continued, yeah, it was really fast, thrown to the ground. Johnson asked, you said you got your sneakers on when you got to the elevator. Where were your sneakers before? Ventura responded, my sneakers, I think, were in my bag. I just ran out without any shoes. Johnson asked, why did you run out without any shoes?
Try to get
Ventura
the fuck
responded, faster. Johnson asked, you said you were thrown down in the elevator lobby. Who threw you down? Ventura responded, Sean. He grabbed me by the back of my neck and my hoodie and just threw me to the ground. This is another law and crime legal alert. If you received Depo-Provera birth control shots and were later diagnosed with a brain or spinal tumor called meningioma, you may be eligible to take part in a lawsuit. Morgan to forthepeople.com, he said there were sessions. In between the sessions, she and Combs would take more drugs. And she said there were times she suffered side effects from the drugs, and she admits she would often take them just to cope. Johnson asked, how often would you get sick from taking MDMA or ecstasy? Ventura responded, almost every time, like before the actual high hit, I would feel like vomiting. It was usually like a normal thing. Johnson asked, would you vomit or would you just feel nauseous? Ventura responded, I would actually vomit, yeah. Johnson asked, did Sean know about the effects that ecstasy and MDMA had on you? Ventura responded, yeah. Johnson asked, how? Ventura responded, because he would see me in the bathroom or I would tell him so he would just know. Johnson asked, what, if anything, would Sean say when you got sick from MDMA or ecstasy? Ventura responded, he didn't say much, but if we were in the freak off, he would be encouraging me to get up and continue on with it in that condition. Those were not the only drugs Ventura said Combs would ask her or escorts to take. Johnson asked, were there any occasions where Sean offered the escorts drugs like Viagra? Ventura responded, yeah. Johnson asked, and who else besides escorts did Sean offer Viagra to? Ventura responded, he offered it to me before. Johnson asked, and what did he say about you taking Viagra? Ventura responded that it has the same effect on women, just sensitivity. Johnson asked, do you take the Viagra that he offered you? Ventura responded, I did. Johnson asked, and how did you feel? Ventura responded, sensitive and engorged. Johnson asked, did you want to take the Viagra? Ventura responded, no. I thought, no, I didn't. Johnson asked, when escorts were having trouble getting erect, what, if anything, did you observe affected their inability to get erect? Ventura said, like I said before, just the distraction of seeing Sean move around, maybe just hearing his voice. Ventura said the freak-offs were carefully choreographed, with Combs dictating how they unfolded. Johnson asked, how would you know when to make that move? Ventura responded, I would just do it and hope that it would be accepted timing-wise, or he told. Johnson asked, who would tell you? Sean would tell me. When you would ask Sean if you could move from masturbation to touching, why would you ask him? Ventura said it was his fantasy. He was controlling the whole situation. He was directing it. He was doing the lighting. He was telling us where to be, what to say, how to act in the room. Johnson then asked, and you testified that you would sometimes move straight to oral sex. Why would you want to move to the next sex act? Ventura responded, I would just try to speed the process along. It was personally, if I get it done, then it's over, and then we move on to the next thing. I just wanted it to be over. While on the stand, Cassie detailed the planning process that goes into a freak-off. Sean Combs entrusted her to reach out to the male sex workers. Johnson asked, when you were reaching out to an escort, what, if anything, would you say to the escort about what you were hiring that escort to do? Ventura responded, it depended on the situation, how they came in, but I would usually say that my husband is into something called voyeurism and he likes to watch me with another man. It was like a basic conversation that I had with most of the escorts. From there, I would get a feel if they were willing to do it or not. Later, Cassie started to piece together why she was instructed to ask certain questions in the screening process. Johnson asked, you just said that sometimes Sean asked you to ask if a person was a cop, right? Ventura responded, yeah. Johnson asked, and you said later, I learned about why. Ventura responded, yeah. Johnson asked, what did you learn? Answer from Ventura, I learned that this whole situation was not legal. One of the defense attorneys objected. The judge sustained the objection. The jury should disregard the witness's last answer. Now, there were times when Cassie Ventura said she would actually use a fake name when reaching out to these people. It was Jackie Starr, and Combs would use pseudonyms. They were Frank Black and Frank White. Johnson asked Ventura, in the beginning, was Sean open at the freak-offs about his true identity? Ventura responded, he was not. Johnson asked, how, if at all, did he disguise his identity? Ventura responded, well, he started with the masquerade masks. Sometimes he would wear a hat or something covering his face. Johnson asked, were you open about your true identity? Ventura responded, I was not either. Johnson asked, and what, if anything, did you do to hide your identity? Ventura responded, the same thing as far as the mask. I would wear wigs. Johnson asked, who asked you to wear a wig? Ventura responded, Sean. Cassie Ventura disclosed how much money the escorts would typically make to the jury. Johnson asked, for the escorts who you interacted with, what were they paid thousands of dollars to do? Ventura said, to ejaculate, to finish. Johnson asked, is that after they finished having sex with you? Ventura responded, after having sex, after a long session. Johnson asked, and for all the dancers you interacted with at freak-offs, were those individuals paid as well? Ventura responded, yes. Johnson asked, how much were those dancers paid when they came to freak-offs? Ventura responded, anywhere between that range that I said before, $1,500 to $6,000 or $7,000. But if Sean Combs was not pleased with the performance, their pay reflected that. Johnson asked, okay, when escorts would ejaculate on you, who, if anyone, would tell them where to ejaculate? Ventura responded, Sean was usually right there directing it where it could be. Johnson asked, were there occasions when escorts ejaculated without having been told to do so? Ventura responded, yes. Johnson asked, what happened on those occasions? Ventura responded, they got paid less. Johnson asked, what, if anything, would Sean say about when escorts ejaculated without having been told to do so? Ventura responded, he was pretty open with the fact that he wasn't pleased by their performance, so yeah, he would take less money. Johnson asked, and when you would go into the other room and you said Sean asked you to put semen on him? Ventura responded, mm-hmm. Johnson then said, did you do that? Ventura said, I did. Johnson asked, where did you put it? Ventura responded, usually on his chest, on his nipples. Johnson asked, did you want to do that? Ventura responded, No. Then Ventura testified about escorts
Sick
sometimes
motherfucker,
having
man.
trouble performing sexually. Johnson asked, and what did Sean do when escorts were having trouble with erections? Ventura said, he would give them a pep talk. At the end, they definitely didn't get paid the normal amount. I know that. Johnson asks, how do you know that? Ventura responded, because he would tell me and he would tell them as well. It wasn't really a secret. Johnson asks, when you say he, who is he? Ventura responded, Sean. Now, we all heard about the obscene amount of baby oil found at Sean Combs's property during those raids back in March of 2024, but now Cassie's testimony puts that amount of baby oil into context. Johnson asked, you mentioned that the baby oil was used because you had to be glistening. Ventura responded, mm-hmm. Johnson asked, who told you that you needed to be glistening? Ventura responded, Sean, it was his preference. Johnson asked, how frequently would baby oil be applied to be glistening? Ventura responded, like every 5 minutes. It was a lot. Johnson asked, what, if any, comments would Sean make about needing to apply baby oil? Ventura responded, he would, if he felt like you were too dry, he would let you know. Johnson asked, what would he say? Ventura responded, he would say, you're too dry. You need to put more oil on, or you need to be glistening. You need to be, you need to be shining. Yeah. Due to the demand, it makes sense why Sean Combs had more than 1,000 bottles of Johnson & Johnson baby oil at his home. Johnson asked, approximately how many bottles of baby oil would be used in a typical freak-off?
Damn.
Ventura responded, a lot. I would say definitely somewhere close to 10. Johnson responded,
10 fucking bottles of baby oil is fucking crazy.
what size were those bottles? Ventura responded, the larger size bottles. Johnson asked, were there freak-offs where you ran out of baby oil? The defense objected, Your Honor.
Hell yeah, and the assistant had to bring them bitches.
At this point, it's getting a little cumulative. The judge responded, let's see if we can wrap this up and move on. Johnson followed up with the question, you also mentioned Astroglide. How was that used at the freak-offs? Another objection came from the defense. Irrelevant. Emily Johnson said, Your Honor, it's a supply. And the court then went to sidebar. At one point, Ventura described how Sean Combs set up an elaborate freak-off using a blow-up pool at a hotel in Beverly Hills. Assistant U.S. Attorney Emily Johnson asked Ventura, what concerns did you have about not getting into the pool with the baby oil? Ventura responded, that, among other things, just his temper. If that is something that he wanted, Sean wanted to happen, that's what was going to happen. There wasn't another way around it. Another way Combs exerted control over Cassie Ventura, according to her testimony, there was a period early on in our relationship where he wanted me to have a nickname for him, and I didn't want to call him anything that anyone else had called him. So he asked me what I called my grandfather, and I said, Pop Pop. Emily Johnson asked, how did you feel about calling Sean the same name you called your grandfather? Ventura responded, I thought it was weird at the time, and now I just feel like it was disrespectful. Federal prosecutors also brought in photos from Cassie Ventura's electronic devices that showed bruises that she says she suffered at the hands of Sean Combs. In one photo taken in Toronto, she claimed that she had to cover her eye with her hair because of a bruise. She also described for the jury having a freak off in New York and taking the drug GHB and blacking out, going into what she called a G hole. She said she came to and was naked in a bathtub, and Combs and a man named Dave were freaking out. Ventura also described a time on a flight where she traded her seat to get away from Combs, but he found his way to her and showed her videos of the freak-offs, threatening to release them if he left her. I want to bring in Rich Schoenstein. He is a trial attorney, and he has been following the Sean Combs trial and showed her videos of the freak-offs, threatening to release them if he left her. I want to bring in Rich Schoenstein. He is a trial attorney, and he has been following the Sean Combs trial very closely. How do you think that Cassie Ventura's testimony is coming across so far, Rich? We only have transcripts, but what she is describing is a relationship in which she was in love with a man who was then trying to get her, or forcing her, coercing her, and that's part of the statute, to take part of portion of the sex trafficking.
Right. It's not her career, her dress, her makeup.
Yeah, that's all we wanted to see was her fucking statement. Man, Small accomplishment for bigger victories, man. That's all we doing. Small accomplishments for bigger victories. You feel me? That's what we on. Better health, better wealth, man. Better health, better wealth. Let's go.